We've got limited flat space. So in terms of
It's the world's biggest understatement. There's not a single tennis court flat spot on the street. Literally can't leave your soccer ball somewhere and won't roll away.
We're Tom and Jules, and together we are taking on our biggest challenge yet. Join us as we tackle fencing, cattle, and everything it takes to bring this land back to life.
Today we're doing a bit more of a slow-paced job. We've come over to the corner of the property where we've been previously fixing some fence and running electric fence along to keep our cows on our side of the fence. Today we just want to try and get an idea as to if there is enough flat usable land up in this top corner where we could move the yards to and a yard shed, in the hopes that we could put in a drive-through point from the house shed to come and access this with a truck, to have like a bit more of a usable space that's not right in front of the shed house area, but still accessible to get obviously cattle in and out of the property. So this is the space that we're kind of looking at and just trying to determine if it's one, flat enough, and two, if there is enough space here to put all of the cattle yards in, plus either like a lean-to shed or a shed of some description that will keep sections of the yards dry, so that when it rains we can obviously still muster the cattle up to this point, have them in a holding yard, and then be able to push them through the yards, get a truck down, load them on the truck and send them on their merry way. Tom's just got his laser viewfinder thingy out to measure out. The other thing we're dealing with in this space is that technically there is a main road section that runs through this top paddock as well, so we're just trying to make sure that we're taking that into account for where we want to potentially put things. So the boundary point that's in on the neighbouring property just here, we've just measured out about 26 metres, and the plan would be to try and use as much as this flat land here. We still might need to get a bit of earthworks, I guess, done on this bit to kind of really flatten it out. As long as we've got a space that's about 30 by 30 square metres, we should be able to comfortably fit the cattle yards and shed in. Anyway, we'll take some measurements and see if our grand plan's going to work. I guess just to add to that as well, we are also needing to find a location for a property pole. So as we've mentioned before, we don't currently have any power on the property. Tom has been battling his way through our energy provider, and in Queensland you only have one, which is great. So you get to really shop around. Been back and forth with them trying to get power connected in the most cost-effective way. So there's been lots of deliberation with our provider back and forth. Tom's been able to negotiate with them, and again, this top section of the property going to prove to be the most logical and cost-effective placement for that. So there is power just behind us here on this post, so we'll put a property pole up here, and then we will need to trench underground power all the way up to the shed. Unfortunately that's at our expense, but at least we can put it all in and have power connected, because the other option they did provide us was going to cost us a small fortune. So we've striked that off, and we're going to go with the property pole up here and take care of the rest ourselves. Okay, Tommy, explain what you're doing. The people want to know.
Need to put a property pole in here while the yards are here, so I'm trying to figure out where it will fall in the yards. It needs to be 5 metres from the boundary and 20 metres from the pole, and the best spot if we build yards here.
5 metres from the boundary, which we know that's the boundary because there is a surveyor's peg over there, and we know that we've got this space to deal with. Existing power is there, so plan is to run power from here to this point if we put a property pole in, and then we know that the yards potentially will run this direction somewhere with a cover to keep us dry, keep the cattle dry when we are mustering them, because, well, it rains, so we need to take that into account as well. But yes, lots of deliberation, but we feel like this needs to be on the agenda because we just need to still get the cattle in, and whilst we can use the yards in their current state, they're still not really fit for purpose, and we do want to just keep tidying all that area up so that we can start doing things in the shed and everything as well. If we can get this sorted and we know what we're dealing with, then we can start getting some quotes for sheds and new yards and earthworks and all of that sort of stuff, we can then also use this space up here because it is probably one of the best flattest spots on the property. But if we didn't use it for a shed and yards, we're not really sure what else we would use it for other than maybe eventually putting a cabin or something on it. But the problem with it is it's just so close to the highway. I really think if we put a cabin or like a little shed house or a shipping container home or something like that on it, the chances of it not being super noisy when you're trying to go to sleep are like pretty much zero. Back to the previous point of, we think this is where the yards and shed will go.
20 metres of service line is provided.
Oh, they provide 20 metres of service line.
Because I've pissed them off. I will try to find a way to charge.
To charge you a fortune, yeah.
And then I'll go full toddler on them.
Yeah. Throw your toys out of the cot.
Toys will fly.
Yes, yeah. So
Because they were wrong.
So they provide you 20 metres of service line to a property pole.
Yeah, probably additional charge after that.
Okay, right. So anything, yeah, outside of 20 metres.
So it'll be like $4,000 a metre after that.
Probably. Yeah.
They don't know how to do voltage drop calculations, I'll tell you that much for nothing.
Yeah.
They could have done it really easy.
Yeah. I feel for people who don't have an electrician on hand to be able to assist with calculating some of these things and just knowing the lingo in terms of what they're actually telling you that
Knowing
you need.
when they're lying.
Knowing when they're trying to make money rather than provide you with a service. So thankfully, Tom knows what he's talking about, because if I had been dealing with them, I would have been like, oh, sure, I'll pay $14,000 to have power connected. But Tom's like, we are not spending that much money. We can do it for much cheaper, just because he knows the ins and outs and is so used to dealing with electrical staff, engineers, all of that sort of nonsense.
Need engineers.
Dealing with engineers, yeah. So, I mean, some of them are good, but some of them are just, frustrating. Anyway, again, trying to do it cost effective, the right way, and long term in terms of what we're trying to do here. So it's creating lots of fun, lots of deliberation, but we'll keep marking things out and see how we go.
Which yapping stand over there?
Oh God, now I'm getting in trouble for talking too much. So after a few measurements, we think we've worked out, plus some Google Maps and survey plans and all of that sort of stuff, research I did the other day, we think we're dealing with about 870 square metres up here that we can use. So we're just trying to work out the least amount of earthworks we can do, the flattest part, to be able to put a kind of a carport, I guess, essentially, with the one side that would be closed in, purely because most of the rain is coming from this direction, which means if it is raining when you're trying to muster the cattle or you've got them in the yards, all of the wind and rain is going to be coming from this direction. So if you had a side on a carport structure and then the yards in behind is going to make use of this space through here, you need to kind of position it slightly kicked to protect you from, or you and the cattle, from the southeast winds and rain and all of that sort of stuff. So
up here's where a ball's got to go to.
And we also need to put in a bore as well. So that's the other thing, we need to figure out where the placement will be for that, because otherwise if we don't put a bore in, we've got to bring in tanks and it adds a whole other level of complexity to it. And we know that the neighbour has put a bore in up here somewhere as well, and they just there. If we can put a bore up here as well, it means then we've got power to the property in the corner, we've got functioning kind of shed or wet weather cover for mustering cattle and treating them and stuff when it is raining. We've also got water up here so that, you know, we can prep things and wash hands and water cattle and all of that sort of stuff. And then it's just a matter of getting all of those kind of things across the paddock over to where the shed or shouse or house yard is, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we'll keep taking some measurements and make sure that before we do anything permanent, we've investigated as much as we possibly can to know that we're making a good decision by putting it here. We did assess a couple of other spots up where we were fixing a fence the other day and thinking maybe that's where we could have put some new yards and a shed. But after, I guess, doing a similar exercise, truck. Similar exercise to what we've done here, where we've done some measurements and everything with the survey plans and overlaying it with Google Earth and all of that sort of stuff. The space was larger, so I think we had about 2,000 square meters over on the top of the hill, but it's all sort of so uneven. The amount of earthworks we would have had to get done to level it all out to be able to make it somewhat usable was just way too much. So when we reassessed everything, we kind of went, actually, let's look at this point, and yeah, it's probably going to make use of the space that we wouldn't use for anything, but it's also going to be the easiest to achieve what we need. The other thing we will have to do is put a road of some description probably along the fence line, which we wanted to do anyway, so that way we can kind of use this section and that other section over the top there as like a holding paddock, and then yeah, we can be pushing cattle up through this bottom valley and then all pushing them all into here, and then we can have trucks and the buggy and everything coming in and out along the fence line there. It's all going to come together, I'm sure. Cross-checking, triple-checking and checking again to make sure we're making the right decision. This is a much better spot than the top paddock we were looking at before. There's Big Reg. Hey, Reggie.
I wouldn't say a much better spot, I'd just say it's a much easier spot.
We've got limited flat space, so in terms of
it's the world's biggest understatement. There's not a single tennis court flat spot on this street.
and trying to figure out where to put a better cattle yard section.
Literally can't leave your soccer ball somewhere and won't roll away.
Property pole.
Yeah, that's permanent. Hook it up.
Property pole placement, I meant to say. Tom's being very cheeky today. Hopefully, that's the first step to power. If we reconfigure all of that, you'd have a gate off the house yard and then what drives straight down this fence line?
Or you could come
down this way, yeah.
Probably come straight down here, just because you're going to have to get a truck or a trailer or something here.
Yeah. Yeah, make it just easier for them to just turn straight off that front section and come straight down, hey? Yeah. So Tom's just tidying up the current cattle yards a little bit, just trying to cut down some of the pesky weeds that we're still dealing with. We might see if we can make the use of the rest of today and take the buggy down and see what cattle we can actually push up through to the yard, just so we can try and keep pushing forward on mustering what we need to, and then actually know how many cattle we actually have on the property. Again, we still don't actually know technically how many we have. We've managed to tag 41 with the 2 musters that we've done. Just in the last couple of weeks though, we have picked up and counted probably another 20, maybe 30 or so. But again, we still don't really know if they're all ours, if they're the neighbours that have got in. Tom's just started cutting down all of these overgrown weeds and everything through the yards, so we can just keep tidying all of this area up. Getting rid of some of these horrible weed trees that we've got. you think it's molasses? Oh, right.
Put it on there and it's supposed to roll.
Oh, right. Okay. I think it's seen better days. Barrel's likely got molasses in it, which is probably like 1 billion years old. And the stand that you can... So much traffic today! The stand that you can sit the drum of molasses on is so rusted as well that, yeah, you'd probably be able to roll it so that it keeps mixing it, right? So the consistency's right and it doesn't settle.
So you can let some out.
Oh, you let some out and then you can... Yeah, right, okay. See? Don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, sounded convincing though, didn't it? Tom's shaking his head at me. Does molasses have an expiry though? Like, what's the deal with molasses? Don't know. Come on, I thought you were a farmer. So Tom's just getting a few things ready to try and see if we can rustle up some cows. So this is actually going to be a planned muster. The last one that we didn't actually mean to bring them all up to the yards, but they were very inquisitive and wanted to come for a visit. Anywho, we'll see how many we can get. The weather isn't the best, but it's the sun's out, which is the main thing. A bit cloudy, a little bit windy, but otherwise it's probably going to be as good as we can get for the next little bit. So we'll get what we can get through the yards today and hopefully tick some more off. Traffic is insane today. It's Friday, but it's not. Can't get a break. I keep trying to film some stuff and then bloody trucks go past and interrupt my conversation. How rude. We're hopeful as well that with the work that we did last weekend on fixing up this laneway fence, that the cattle will somewhat respect it. So when we go out on the buggy shortly to kind of start mustering them all in, hopefully what we've done here with putting in these extra strands of barbed wire through this laneway fence, that we're able to push them up so that then they respect that enough not to dart back down that way, which is what they have been doing in some trials that we've done with them, trying to push them up through, and be able to work up through this way and then hold them in through this area so that we can kind of get them in through the yards and get them tagged and branded and all that. Yeah, hope they respect the new fence enough, but again, that's the whole point of doing what we did earlier, of looking at reconfiguring the yards and a shed and everything over the other side to get them in the habit of respecting things and actually following a certain order, because at the moment I think they're just doing what they want to do. They don't really care. Anywho, we'll go for a spin on the buggy and see who wants to come for a visit.